A mother couldn't stop screaming after realizing what she'd given birth to. Most of the time, people are not prepared for their lives to come full circle. One woman who thought she was going to have a normal pregnancy started to panic when she realized what was happening to her baby. Jenny was looking forward to being a mother. For many years, she'd prayed for a baby, and at last she was going to have a daughter. However, the first sign that things were going to be a little different was when Jenny's water broke at 34 weeks. This was several weeks earlier than normal. As the baby was a little one, it was decided that Jenny would have a cesarean section. During the cesarean section, everything seemed to go well and Jenny didn't experience any problems. Her heart was lifted when she heard her daughter cry. As one of the doctors said, she's beautiful. This all changed when she realized something about her daughter. Her skin that should have been soft and delicate began to harden. Jenny could sense a panic in the doctors. She panicked and began to scream, asking if everything was okay. She didn't receive an immediate response. One doctor asked her if she wanted more medication, but she couldn't answer. Everything went black before she could. When she woke up, the first thing she did was ask for her husband. She was told he was with her baby, and when she asked about the baby, she was given a vague answer, which worried her. She was afraid that something was wrong and struggled to remain calm. After a while, the doctors finally gave her the news. It's a birth defect, they said. At first, Jenny didn't think it was a big deal, assuming that most defects can be fixed, especially since we've come a long way in medicine. However, the growing silence made the knot in her stomach tighten. Jenny was confused as the doctors had left her and her husband alone in the room. Her husband told Jenny to look into her eyes and she'd see the most beautiful soul. Jenny's baby was diagnosed with harlequin ichthyosis, a rare skin disease that the doctors at the hospital were not familiar with. When she was born, there was a lot of panic because I didn't know what was wrong. She was handed over to Jenny so that she could finally hold her baby girl. But the moment couldn't be the peaceful reunion she had hoped for. Jenny's emotions were running high. She couldn't control her mind about her daughter's future. She worried about Anna's quality of life, but tried to avoid immersing herself in these thoughts. Everyone was trying to do research on the subject, and had even heard some encouraging stories. However, Jenny didn't dare to think about it too much. She'd never felt so alone. But after a while, she knew she had to make a choice. That choice was to be there for her daughter. She would never forgive herself if she treated her daughter as if she were less valuable than she was. So that day, her husband came to pick her up so that they could see Anna together. Jenny was grateful because she knew she could count on his support at all times. When she went to see her daughter, nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to see. It was the first time she'd ever looked Anna in the eye. Suddenly, her husband's words floated into her mind. Jenny, she believed her daughter was pure beauty. They were proud to see that her daughter's strength. Her condition meant that there were obstacles that made the job of parenting a little more demanding. There were many times when Jenny struggled to adapt to Anna's condition. However, one fateful encounter gave Jenny the morale she needed. One day, the wife of a friend of her husband came to Jenny's house, and the woman shared her story. After listening to the woman, Jenny realized how important perspective was. Just as she had once made a promise to be there for her daughter, she now made a promise to herself. She would focus on what she could rather than what she could not have. This mentality shaped her journey not only as a mother but also as a person. Jenny didn't want to limit her daughter because of her disability, so she decided to raise Anna with an optimistic outlook. Jenny believed that her daughter was capable of anything. Although Jenny broke water earlier than expected, she didn't have any problems at the time of delivery. Sarah was not so lucky. During her pregnancy, she developed an illness that caused her back pain. It wasn't consistent, but in the end, she had to give birth a little earlier than expected. Although Sarah was looking forward to the pregnancy, things got complicated. The moment that changed everything was when the midwife said urgently that they had to pull the emergency cord. Sarah's mother and her partner, Kyle, stood by her side in silent support. Before she could comprehend what was happening, her bed was carried into the delivery room. Amidst the serious conversation about the baby's heart rate, Sarah could hear her own mother asking about Sarah. "Is she okay?" she said, feeling helpless. Since only one person was allowed in, Sarah's mother decided to stay outside. Kyle tried to comfort her, but she was having trouble concentrating. The contractions were getting stronger. The doctors eventually performed an emergency cesarean section. As difficult as it was, Sarah couldn't wait to hold her daughter in her arms. She'd been dreaming of this moment for months, but the dream had to be delayed. As it turned out, Monroe, which is the name Sarah gave her, was not breathing when she was born. The period following her birth was stressful. The baby had to be moved to the intensive care unit, and Sarah's body struggled to recover. With all these problems, things got better. Sarah had hoped for a little girl, and it was proved to not be in vain. Finally, Monroe could be discharged from the hospital as all her vital signs were normal, and Sarah could finally hold her daughter perfectly normal. Cases like Sarah's are something that many women have struggled with for new parents. Navigating pregnancy and the postpartum period can be confusing. There are things that are not talked about as openly. One example of this is when a woman named Nikki gave birth to her son, Graham. He was born in a way that may seem strange to other people. Babies have very soft skulls when they're born. Their heads can change shape to make the birthing process easier. Sometimes women take a little longer to push their babies out. We may be used to the round shape of an adult skull, but it's actually quite common for newborns to have an oval head. That's what happened to Graham. His head was shaped like a cone. It took Nikki quite a while to get it out. When Graham was born and shown to the rest of the family, their immediate reaction was elation. The family wasn't worried about Graham's appearance. They were simply happy. People who have seen this condition several times will tell you that it's something that goes away with time. After a few days, Graham's head began to take on a shape more familiar to most people. The baby is perfectly healthy and proves that this condition is nothing to worry about at once. Emily's birth story is a little different from those who have gone before. While those women experienced slight complications of their babies, showed some striking physical features, the time and place where Emily broke water is what makes this story out of the ordinary. Emily's a doctor and was still working while she was pregnant. She felt comfortable moving around, so for the moment, work was her priority. During one of her shifts, she attended to a woman who was in labor. As the woman was in labor, Emily didn't think much of the fluid on her gown. When Emily left the room for a moment, she looked down at herself. There was something about the wetness that rang a bell. Then she realized what was really happening. Her water had just broken. Knowing that she was due to give birth soon, Emily began to panic. She thought she would still have a month to prepare for the arrival of her child. But life had other plans. One of her colleagues was surprised by the situation but assured Emily that she would be there to help her. Emily gave birth to a premature but healthy baby boy whom she named Jet. He stayed in the hospital for a couple of months so that doctors could keep an eye on him. After all, Emily finds that the experience has helped her at her job. She's a doctor, but now she's also a mother. Giving birth can be a very stressful time, and she feels she can best support other women as she's experienced their worries firsthand. All these mothers would say that the discomfort and stress of pregnancy were worth it because at the end of the road, they had their beautiful little children. We hope you found these stories interesting, and we'll have more to share with you in the next video.